Simorgh! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing you a full spoiler and breakdown of the brand new cards coming out of Link VRAINS Pack 3. Now you might be wondering, Cimo, why does this matter? Link VRAINS Pack is only an OCG exclusive set. We don't even have all the cards from Link VRAINS Pack 1 for that matter, so why do you care about this? Well, if you recall, the Link VRAINS Pack set actually brings some of the most impactful and game-changing cards into the game, and it's really nice to look forward and kind of speculate and formulate what strategies are going to be powerful so that we can be prepared for what's to come into the future. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So starting off with Link God Dragon, talk about name change when it comes to the TCG. It's a Dark Dragon Link 5, keep that in mind, with 5,000 attack and requires 5 monsters to be summoned. Hello, Scapegoat. So must be Link summoned. If this card's Link summoned using Dark, Earth, Water, Fire, and Wind monsters as material, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. Unaffected by other card effects, also cannot be destroyed by battle with a Dark, Earth, Water, Fire, or Wind monster. Once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, banish 5 cards from your graveyard face down. If you cannot, send this card to the graveyard. I don't really care about the destroying all cards your opponent controls effect, because that's pretty ambitious if that's going to happen. What worries me is the unaffected by all other card effects clause, and the fact that it only requires 5 monsters to summon, making it generic. 5 monsters is not that difficult for a board, for a deck, especially a combo deck, to assemble onto a board, and then you can just drop this, and then it's like good luck outing it because it's unaffected by other card effects. I really hate card design like this, and it makes me a little bit worried because if there's any instance that a deck can summon this, it's just going to be game over for so many strategies that don't have like kaijus in their deck, because how else are you going to out this thing? I'm a little bit worried about this one. It takes a specific combo deck to be able to spam and vomit that many monsters onto the board, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I think that one's definitely one to keep on your radar for sure. Next up, we have Union Carrier. This is probably the best card in the set. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. It's a Link 2. It's a light machine. I've already covered it. I did an entire video on this card. That's how good it is. Briefly, though, 2 monsters with the same type or attribute. Cannot be used as Link material to turn it as Link summon. Thank God, by the way. This card would be even more broken for that. They learned their lesson from that on Link VRAINS Pack 1. Target a face-up monster you control. Equip a monster with the same original type or attribute as the targeted monster from your hand or deck to it as an equipped spell, and makes it gain 1,000 attack, but if you equipped from your deck, you cannot special summon monsters with the same name as that monster card for the rest of this turn. So basically, it's like Summon Sorceress like of 2020. It's just going to be so powerful. There's so many degenerate things you can do with this. You can equip like the Destruction Sword Buster Blader cards to Artifact Scythe your opponent. Like, there's so many cards. Like I said, just watch the video I did on this card. That'll pretty much just go into depth of just how powerful that card really is. Next, we have Solene, the Sacred Sovereign of Magic, a light spellcaster, Link 3, 1850 attack, 2+ monsters including a spellcaster. If this is Link summoned, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyard, so that could be a lot. While an Endymion card is on the field, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. Once per turn, during the main phase, as a quick effect, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field, special summon a monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position to your zone this card points to. I think this card's like okay. It's a little bit underwhelming, but I think it definitely has its niche for sure. It's got some combos with the Endymion strategy. The fact that it's Link 3 is like a little bit awkward, but it's nice because it gives you more zones to work with. I think it's all right. It's not bad, but it's not like Union Carrier good. Let's go ahead and just put it that way. And then, oh boy, speaking of that, Predaplant Verte Anaconda, a dark plant Link 2 Link monster with 500 attack, 2 effect monsters. Oh boy. You can target 1 face-up monster on the field. It becomes dark until the end of this turn. You can pay 2,000 life points and send 1 polymerization normal or quick play spell or fusion normal or quick play spell from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect when this card is activated. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, and only each effect can be used once per turn. So basically, this card can just become super polymerization or instant fusion or whatever fusion card you want it to. There is going to be some degenerate ass just I don't even know where to go with this. Like, this card is going to see play. This card is extremely, as long as Super Poly is in the format, and I guess Instant Fusion by extension, this card is going to see play. So definitely bear that in mind. Get ready for like Super Poly the second coming, because that's what this card is. Next up, we have Companion Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman, so the Buster Blader Link. It's a Light Dragon Link 2 with 400 attack, requires any 2 monsters, so it's completely generic. If it's Link Summon, send a Destruction Sword card from deck to grave, then you can special summon a Buster Blader monster from your hand, seems okay. At the end of your battle phase, if your opponent controls no monsters, target a Buster Blader monster you control that did not declare an attack this turn, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this card seems alright. I don't think it does anything insane, and I'm not a Buster Blader player by any stretch of the imagination, so if this card's nuts, you guys can tell me, but I think it's alright. Burn damage, you know, for time rules, you know, that's okay. I think this card's pretty decent. Again, it's not like, I don't think it's like awful, but like, I think it's like, it's alright. It's got generic arrows too, considering it's just a 2 monster generic Link 2. I think that's pretty good for what that's worth. Next up is Ancient Gear Ballistic Shooter. I love the Ancient Gear cards. The artwork is so cool. It's an Earth Machine Link 2 with 1500 attack. Requires 2 Earth Machines, so that's a bit specific. If it's Link Summon, add an Ancient Gear monster or Gear Town from your deck to your hand. That seems pretty good. You can target a spell or trap you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls. Destroy that card you control so you can pop your own Gear Town. And if you do, change that opponent's monster's attack and defense to 0 until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Again, seems pretty good. Its arrows are bottom left and to the right. I don't know if that matters too much, but I wish they were just bottom left, bottom right. Card seems like, again, it's okay. I don't think it's like gonna make Ancient Gears tier 1 or anything, but like, it's okay. It's kind of cute. Extra Hero Hell Divisor. Here comes number 2 of name changes coming to the TCG. A Dark Fiend Link effect with Link 2, 1700 attack. 2 hero monsters, obviously. If this card is Link Summoned, reveal a hero fusion from your extra deck and add up to 2 of the fusion materials with different names, whose names are specifically listed on that monster, from your deck to your hand. So talk about advantage. Like, that's a really powerful effect in its own right. Although you cannot special summon monsters this turn, you activate this effect except heroes, so that's kind of the balancing part. You can only use this effect once per turn, and each fiend monster this card points to gains attack and defense equal to its level times 100. That's, I think, kind of irrelevant, but it's just kind of nice, I suppose. Being able to generate that much advantage, though, is insane. You are locked into heroes, and I think that's kind of where the restrictive part of this card is, but it's a really nice tool that heroes have, so it's like, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, just being able to just go like +2 off that card immediately, I think is insane, especially for your investment into it of just 2 heroes. Now we have Crossroads Dragon, 2 monsters with different types. It's a Dark Dragon Link 2 with 800 attack. During your main phase, as a quick effect, tribute this card, add 1 plant and 1 plant monster. Special summon a Rose Synchro monster or Plant Synchro monster from your extra deck. So that's cool. You can kind of Black Rose on your opponent's turn, I guess. That's kind of nice. It's treated as a Synchro summon if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect. While this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon a Rose Dragon monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. So I think the cute thing here, it only requires 2 monsters of different types. So basically, like, let's say your play gets stopped, you can make this, and if you're playing Black Rose in your extra deck, during your opponent's turn, you can possibly just Black Rose them. That's pretty cool. You do have to tribute a plant monster though, so that's probably where that's like never gonna happen for like most generic instances, but being able to Black Rose your opponent on their turn seems pretty nice. But again, I don't know, unless like some crazy plant deck comes along, I don't really think this card's gonna see too much play, but who knows, it's a nice tool if you are playing, you know, Predaplants or, you know, something like that. Next up, we have Reptilian Echidna. So it's a Dark Reptile Link 2 with 200 attack. 2 monsters, including a reptile, which means this card will probably never see the light of day. If this card is Link Summoned, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, and during your main phase, you can add reptile monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except reptile monsters, and each effect is obviously once per turn. On the surface, this card is like not bad, but the issue is it's, you know, you're kind of locked into reptiles. There needs to be some like broken reptile archetype for this card to like actually be good in my eyes, and that currently doesn't exist, but maybe in the future we'll get it, and if so, this will probably be like a staple in it. But that whole theme of making everything 0, you just need like a good shell to be able to play this card in. I just don't think that currently exists. Next up is Bloom Harmonist, the Melodious Virtuoso, excuse me. It's a light fairy Link 2, 1000 attack, requires 2 fairies. If this card is Link Summoned, discard a card, special summon 2 Melodious monsters with different levels from your deck in defense position to your zones this card points to. That seems pretty good. You cannot special summon for the turn you activate this effect except Melodious monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. If a Melodious monster this card points to attacks, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. again, all around, seems like a pretty okay card. The fact that you just get to immediately generate advantage by special summoning 2 monsters, that's good. You can then link off. I mean, again, you can only special summon Melodious, so you're kind of limited in what you can do, but you could potentially do some plays there. I think it's like okay, but again, like Melodious aren't really like doing anything on the competitive scene whatsoever, but it's a pretty decent card nonetheless for the archetype, I suppose. I think someone mentioned there's like some sort of lock with it or something. I don't know. Next, we have Lib the World Kaymaster. Light Cyberse Link 2, 2000 attack, so very good stats there. 2 monsters, so this is generic. Cannot be link summoned unless there's a World Legacy card in your graveyard, so that's what makes it not so generic, but I think that's pretty fair. During your main phase, you can set 1 World Legacy spell or trap card directly from your deck, but if you have no World Legacy monsters in your graveyard, it cannot be activated this turn. There's a lot of really good World Legacy cards, as we've seen with the resurgence of Mech Knights coming into the format at like the Rogue tier, so I mean, definitely some playability there. If this link summon card sent to the graveyard as link material, you can shuffle a card on the field into the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Seems pretty good. Like, it's pretty much all upside. Again, you have to be playing World Legacy cards, but again, if you're playing like Mech Knights or any sort of like World Chalice based deck, you're gonna have that. The fact that if it gets linked away, you get to shuffle something away into the deck. Like, this card is all upside, and this is definitely one of my higher picks coming out of this set. Next, we have Herald of Mirages. Light Fairy Link 2, 600 attack. 2 monsters with the same type and attribute except tokens. When a spell trapper effect is activated, quick effect, send a fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Now, it doesn't count monster effects, keep that in mind. If this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add up to 2 ritual monsters and or ritual spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So overall, seems okay. It's not like, I think the problem is it's just too limiting. Like, you have to be playing this in like basically like a Herald deck or some sort of fairy deck, so obviously it's like the deck you're playing this in is very limited, and the fact that it has to be destroyed by your opponent's card to get the added from the graveyard, I wish you could just send it to the graveyard by your own means, because ritual monsters are already like so limited in how like playable they are that I think they could have pushed this one a little bit more. But I think for some sort of like, you know, counter fairy or like fairy, like Herald deck, like I think this card's pretty good. But I mean, that's not really saying much in terms of like competitive viability. Simorgh, Bird of Kings, a Wind Link 3 Winged Beast effect monster, 2400 attack, 2+ monsters including a Winged Beast, cannot be used as link material. A lot of these cards have that now. Your opponent cannot target this card or Winged Beast monster you control that it points to with card effects, not bad. If this card would be destroyed by battle, you can destroy a Simorgh you control instead. During the end phase, you can special summon 1 Winged Beast monster from your hand or deck whose level is equal or lower to the number of unused spell or trap zones on the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Is Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds a Winged Beast? Because if it is, that's actually not bad, being able to go into this and then you just drop Barrier Statue and then you just basically lock your opponent out of special summoning. I think that's pretty neat, but again, you have to be playing some sort of Winged Beast monsters to make this in the first place. I guess there could be some way to do that, I'm not sure, but I think just solely because of that interaction, that might be okay. But I think aside from that, this isn't going to make Simorgh like tier 1 or anything like that. Don't get too excited. Next up is Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. It is a Wind Machine Link 3, 2100 attack. Requires 2+ machine, so that's pretty easy to do. If this card's link summoned, you can special summon up to 3 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, so it's not up to 3, it is 3. Also, you cannot link summon for the rest of this turn. Once per turn, you contribute up to 3 monsters, apply the appropriate effect. If you tribute 1, you can destroy a card on the field. 2, special summon a Phantom Beast monster from your deck. And 3, add a trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, you're not going to be doing any crazy combos with this with link summoning because it has the clause that prevents you from link summoning for the rest of the turn. However, there is some cool potential here. In fact, you can pop a card if you're playing some other Mecha Phantom Beast like Lion, maybe if we get Needle Fiber, I think there could be something there too. And adding a trap from your graveyard to your hand, I don't know if there's any potential for that to be good, but the fact that it's any trap card, if your deck can make a Link 3 and you're playing machines, maybe there's something there. I don't know. I just think that's a really interesting, you know, third effect to have on this card. Something to look out for, I suppose, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. Bujinki Ahashima, yes. So it's a monster, yeah, of course it's a monster. It's a light beast warrior, Link 2 with 1500 attack. It just got announced earlier today, so there's no artwork currently on Wikipedia. 2 monsters with the same level cannot be used as Link material. If it's Link summoned, you can special summon 2 monsters with the same level, 1 from your hand and 1 from your graveyard, but negate their effects, if any, and if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon 1 Xyz monster using only those 2 monsters. If an Xyz monster this card points to detaches its material to activate an effect, target a spell or trap card your opponent controls, destroy it, and you can only use each effect once per turn. So this is kind of interesting because it allows you to special summon 2 level 4s or any, they don't have to be level 4s, but probably you're going to be playing level 4s with this. And then you can immediately Xyz into that monster with making this. And then if you detach something, you get to pop a card. I guess if you're playing like Burning Abyss, which again, I don't know why you would be, for instance, you could theoretically summon 2 level 3s. And because they're BAs, their effects would be negated and immediately overlay into a Dante. And then if you detach for Dante's effect, then you get to pop a spell or trap. I think that's like okay. Like, I think it's interesting that like there's some application, but it doesn't like really generate you a ton of advantage because it does take something out of your graveyard, so that's a plus, but something out of your hand is already a resource. You still need another monster in your hand after you've already committed 2 to make this. I don't know. This one's interesting, and like I guess you could make like Utopia double and then like make, pop a card before like hitting in for 10k. That might be something, I don't know. I think this card's like pretty good. It's higher up on the scale, but I think people are gonna have to play around with it to see just how well it truly works out. Artifact Dagda. It is a light fairy Link 2, 1500 attack, 2 monsters with different names. When the effect of another card on the field is activated, that's pretty good. Quick effect, you can set 1 artifact monster from your hand or deck to your spell or trap zone as a spell, but destroy it during your opponent's next end phase. If this Link summon card is destroyed during your opponent's turn, you can special summon an artifact monster from your graveyard in defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. This seems pretty good. It's unfortunate because you do need to have like some cards to combo with it. Like you need to be able to pop the card that you set with it. Otherwise, like if you set Scythe, you need to be able to pop Scythe, right? Or if you have Scythe Engrave, if it gets destroyed, you can special summon Scythe, but like they've already probably played their turn out unless they're waiting for main phase 2. I think there's some pretty good potential with this card, but again, it is pretty limited. It could be a lot more broken, but honestly, I think this is also one of the better cards. It's also only 2 monsters with different names, so it's also pretty generic too. Next up is Abyss Actor Hyper Director. It is a Dark Link 1 Fiend with 800 attack. It requires an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster. Target a card in your Pendulum Zone, special summon it, then place 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster with a different name from that special summon monster from your deck or face up from your extra deck in your Pendulum Zone. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except Abyss Actors. You can only use this effect once per turn. So it's an Abyss Actor specific card. I wish it was more fairly generic to Pendulums. Because of that, I don't think this is going to make Abyss Actors like tier 1 or anything, but it's an interesting design nonetheless. But I think this is probably one of the worst cards in the set. Sky Striker Ace Sieg. So it is a Dark Link machine with 1500 attack, Link 2 by the way. 2 monsters including a Sky Striker Ace monster, obviously. Must be Link summoned. If it is Link summoned, you can target a face-up monster on the field, banish it until your opponent's next end phase. Once per turn, you can target 1 other card you control. This card gains 1000 attack, then send the targeted card to the graveyard. You can only special summon this card once per turn. Now, a lot of people have been hating on this card, but honestly, I think it's fine. It gives you something to do if you take control of your opponent's monsters, like with Widow Anchor or something, or if you just need a way to clear monsters off your board. So that way, let's say you have a Shizuku, but then you also have another monster. It's kind of difficult to clear those without going into a Nightmare Phoenix. So this way you can still go into a Sky Striker monster, and it kind of does something as well. So it's it's okay. It's probably just going to be a one of or something in the deck, but ultimately it could be a lot worse. It's probably mid-tier of the set as a whole. Only 2 left. Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayokashi, Water Zombie Link 4, 2900 attack, requires 2+ zombies. You can only control 1 of it. Negate the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were banished when the effect was activated. If a monster or monsters is special summoned from the graveyard, or if a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, you can target 1 other face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects. You can use each effect up to twice per turn. Now, this card's interesting. It requires a pretty big commitment, and you do have to be playing zombies for this card to be any good. I don't know if there's any other like crazy Mayakashi synergies with it, but like I think it's interesting just from like a zombie perspective. The fact that you just can stop stuff that's banished, the fact that you can just pretty much negate multiple things seems all right for a Link 4. It's got a lot of pretty good strength behind it, but again, it is very limited in where it can actually be played. And then the last card, Tenyi Spirit Sahasrara? I do not know how to pronounce that. I apologize. In any case, it's a light worm, Link 4 with 3000 attack, requires 2+ worms. While you control face-up non-effect monster, your opponent monsters cannot target effect monsters for attacks, also cannot target effect monsters on the field with card effects. Quick effect, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, special summon a Tenyi Spirit token, and that's pretty much it. Worm, light, level 4, attack !, defense 0. Its attack becomes original attack of the targeted monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, I don't know if there's any crazy synergy with this card, but this card doesn't seem like, you know, that good to me. It seems like okay for Tenyi, but again, I'm not like any, you know, expert on this card by any means. The fact that it protects everything from being targeted by attacks and card effects, that seems pretty good, but again, like it does require a heavy commitment to get there, and I don't know. It's just, I'm not really feeling this one. It's probably one of the weaker ones in my eyes. But guys, that's gonna do it for all 20 of the brand new Link monsters in Link VRAINS Pack 3. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think and what your favorite cards are coming out of this set, or if there's any cards you think that I should rate a lot higher that I had a lot lower on my list. Be sure to let me know your thoughts. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.